Well, I don't know what you want me to say. This deck is so stupid. It's like the pinnacle of what the problem is with Duel Links right now. It's rank 8 slop. It just prints out 10 billion negates. It can play going second. It can blow up your entire board. It plays all the lava golems, all the kaijus, and well, it's also really playable even if you don't have a lot of the expensive cards in the game. As you can see, this deck is only using one of the new main box, and the extra deck is pretty cheap as well because most of the rank 8 good stuff are from special sets, so you don't even have to open a box to get them. The only stuff that is not from the Therion box is Decklist and Tachyon Primal, which are from a different mini box, so not too hard to get. But this deck is definitely going to be top tier, and even when you build this cheaper version, it's still really, really good, as you will be able to see in the replays later. This deck, what it does is, well, when it goes first, you just put out 10 billion negates. Well, because obviously the rank 8 package is already a really negate-heavy package, but the Therion engine itself also has a couple of negates as well. Regulus is just an Omni negate. It doesn't destroy, but it still negates. And Therion Cross just negates any monster effect and banishes that monster as well. So, with all of that on top of the generic Dragluxion rank 8 package, this deck just gets to negate everything, right? When you go first, if you don't get interrupted, you just make an unbeatable board. Even if your opponent has like a kaiju or a lava golem, this deck is just so insane that you still probably have enough negates to negate the rest of the stuff. Like, a deck is way too broken when your opponent can lava golem you and you can still win because you still have enough negates left, right? Anyway, let's go over this deck quickly. We are playing one Regulus. Obviously, you want to play more if you have, because this not only can be a negate when it's on the field as a monster, it can also just be a negate when something is equipped with this card. Because if you're familiar with this card in the TCG, you might only have the conception of this card being a negate when it is summoned, but in its own archetype, because all of the other stuff equips it as an equip card as well, it also gives them the ability to have the negate as well. We're playing two Therion Irregular. This is the board breaker going second. This card is just ridiculous. Like, when you summon it, you get to equip a whole bunch of stuff from your graveyard as well, like right when you summon it, so your opponent doesn't even have a chance to respond to that. And you can just equip Regulus, and now you just immediately have a negate to contest whatever your opponent has to stop this card. And if your opponent cannot stop this card just blows up their entire field, like every single card from their field, both monsters and spell traps. So just what a ridiculous card. Lily Borea just searches a spell trap, so it mostly just searches either the trap if you don't have it in your hand, or you can search the field spell, which searches another monster. Or sometimes I guess you can search cross, a charge. I mean, this card just is a pot of greed. And two copies of Empress. This card just revives. Technically, it summons from the back row, but this is basically just a revive. You also need to discard a card, but you have plenty of stuff to discard, and sometimes you just have random useless junk like a second field spell that you don't need that you can just discard with, so that isn't really a problem. To Reperfume, this is a kind of interruption. It bounces your opponent's spell trap, so it kind of does something, but like I don't think you really need this when you have 6 negates next to it. So two copies of Duke Yule. This card is not very good. I mean, it does protect your guy from being destroyed, but we just need more names because the skill needs us to play 15 Therion cards. To Bull Ein, this is another way you can break your opponent's board. This just destroys your opponent's card, any card, which is pretty good. And Therion, this Colosseum is just a field spell that searches, nothing too much to talk about. Therion Charge draws 2 cards. You can send any Therion card or Argo system from anywhere, not just your hand, you can also send from the field. And it helps you draw into your good stuff like your Kaijus and Lava Golems, or if you go first, it helps you draw into your field spells, which we'll talk about in a second. Therion Cross is just a trap that negates monster effects and banishes that monster, really, really good. And for the generic stuff, obviously the one Primal and the one Transmigration for the Dragluxion package, just most broken engine ever. We are playing triple Kaiju, triple Lava Golem, because, well, everyone else is playing this deck as well, because this deck is broken as hell. If you go to popular cards, you can see it's like the most popular deck right now. And for going first, we're playing a pretty interesting package. We're playing 3 Valence field spells, 3 of each, plus a 7th copy of the field spell, because this just searches any field spell. So what this does is that it just triggers your skill, because this skill can be used when your opponent controls a card to add a Therion monster from your deck to your hand and then send 3 Therion cards from your deck to graveyard. This effect is so good that you want to have a way to trigger it going first, and the Valence field spell is a way to do that. Similar to how the Stardust slot piles use the Vector Blast or whatever, Vector Cannon, whatever it's called, to mill your opponent's deck so that it can use the skill going first. A similar idea with this skill, but even if you don't have the field spell, you still use the first effect to add any Therion card from your deck to your hand, or send it to the graveyard. I mean, you usually add it to your hand, and then you can also add the Argo system, a gyro system from outside your deck to your hand. This card doesn't really have a good activation effect, but it has a really good graveyard effect. When you discard it with one of your Therion cards, you can use it to add back something from the graveyard, and when you combine this with the triple send with the skill, you basically just get a free search. So that's the main deck. The extra deck is just a whole bunch of rank 8 good stuff. Photon Lord, Titanic Galaxy, Felgrand is also another negate you can make. Oftentimes you can make all 3 of these rank 8s. Teardrop the Rika Queen is from the same box, and it has applications going second. Decklist, obviously, and Xenophon, the Sky Prison against some decks that summons from the graveyard, and the rest are just random link stuff that you can play, but obviously if you have better link monsters, you want to play the Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Unicorn, or Goddess, White Woman Jumpscare. But in this free-to-play version, we're just playing 2 Landfoe and 1 Draco Masters that we will probably never summon ever. So with that said, let's have a look at some replays. Okay, we're going first. This will be able to show you what the turn 1 combo is if you have one of the Valence field spells. So we drew the cross, which is okay because that means we can use the Lily Boreal Search to grab the field spell. And well, let's just do the combo. So basically what you want to do is just spam a bunch of level 8s on the field and just make a whole bunch of rank 8s. I don't know what to tell you. It isn't really like a really linear way you do this. You just basically summon as many level 8s as you could. You can also use the effect of the Empress to summon itself when it's equipped to something, because it grants the equipped monster with the effect to summon from the back row. You can just make a Gluxion and then just do the Tachyon Primal line while we have the Regulus on the field, so if your opponent has like a Nibiru, we can negate it. And then we can just make Galaxy, and then we'll actually make a Felgrand and not Photon Lord because we want the Regulus in the graveyard. So if we were playing like a more expensive version, we'd probably have a second Regulus, but because we only have 1 copy in this free-to-play version, we need it to be in the graveyard so that we can equip it later on. So instead of making Photon Lord, we'll just make Felgrand, use its effect to detach a material, and then make Photon Lord afterwards. And then now we can equip back the Regulus that will give our Reperfume the Army negate, and then we can just set 2 more traps and pass. That's like 6 negates and a spell trap bounce. So we don't really have to think too much on what to negate. So we can just negate every single activation our opponent has, and just not have to worry about sequencing, because we just have enough negates to negate every single card in their hand. So even stuff like Dark World Dealings, which usually you can just let it go through, we can still negate, because we have enough negates to negate everything. Opponent will normal summon Samurai Skull, doesn't matter, we just negate it. And then, well, we still have one negate left, and doesn't really matter, our opponent will be scooping. Alright, second replay. We're going second. This shows what this deck will do when it loses the coin flip. Our opponent's playing Tachyon. And, well, Tachyon nowadays is just a worse version of every single level 8 deck, such as the deck that we are playing. They will basically make the Dragoxion board, but just without all of the good stuff that other decks are able to play. Like, they can't play Photon Lord, and they don't have other stuff that other decks can play, like Red Eyes can play Dragoon, Therion can play Regulars, and you know, Punk can play Psychic and Punisher, but Tachyon just plays Tachyon. So like, if you have Tachyon, why wouldn't you just not play other stuff, right? Why aren't you playing Photon, or why aren't you playing Therion? Anyway, he's just gonna set up his board. We drew the best top deck we have in our deck, so we can just completely dismantle their board. And even if we don't draw the Lava Golem, we still have another chance when we activate the charge to draw 2. This is another chance that we can draw into a Kaiju. But obviously we already have the Lava Golem in our hand. And we kind of want to do the draw 2 before we use this skill to search, just in case we draw into something that we want to search. We'll threaten our opponent's back row with the Irregular. They will use Droplet, which pops all of our back row. Doesn't really matter, even if he negates the board wipe, it's completely fine. We can still just combo off. We can just go for a Lethal right now, but let's just style a bit, and we'll summon another guy. He will try to Nibiru, that's completely okay. We have the negate on the field, and then we'll just, well, I think he just scoops here. Yeah, he just scoops here. Right, cool. What an awesome format, right? Anyway, thanks for watching. Goodbye.